If I were to ask you who deserves to win the MVP award this season, who would you say? Some might say it's Giannis, Embiid, Curry, or even KD. But often lost in the discussion for the most valuable player is none other than the Joker himself, Nikola Jokic. As a big man who can pass the ball like magic, shoot the ball like Dirk, and work the post like Hakeem, Jokic is proving himself to be a talent unlike any other. But despite his talents and historic numbers, Jokic still doesn't get the attention he often deserves. Let's take a look at why Nikola Jokic is the most slept on MVP and how the difference between him and the next person isn't even close. Let's start off with the impact Jokic has on Denver and how he truly brings value to his team. As of February 1st, the Nuggets have a record of 28 wins and 21 losses, placing them 5th in the Western Conference. Among those 49 games that they've played so far, the Nuggets have gone just 5 games without Jokic. Within this 5-game stretch, Denver has lost 4 of them, putting their win percentage at a mere 20% when they go without Nikola Jokic. As you can see, the Nuggets significantly improve when Jokic is on the floor, boosting their win percentage all the way up to over 60%. And it's not just when he's completely missing games either. His impact is also felt as soon as Jokic sits on the bench. To give you an idea of what I mean, the Nuggets currently have a net rating of 3.1 with Nikola Jokic on the floor this season. Now take a look at the worst net rating right now in the league. They have a total net rating of negative 9.6. Now that's pretty bad, but look at how low the Nuggets drop in rating when he's on the bench. The Denver Nuggets have a net rating of negative 13.3 without Nikola Jokic playing. That's a total net rating of 3.7 points worse than the last place team in the league. In other words, they're just downright bad without Jokic, and the difference between Jokic playing versus him sitting on the bench is like playing against a slightly above average team in the league and the absolute worst team in the entire NBA. This may all sound crazy, but unsurprisingly, splits like these aren't particularly new in the NBA, especially for star players. This one just happens to be so drastic compared to others. To give you some perspective, take a look at these other MVP candidates on their teams to see what we mean. The next big man most similar to Jokic is Embiid, and currently the Sixers have a net rating of 7.7 with him on the court and negative 3 with him on the bench. Likewise, Giannis has a net rating of 9.2 and negative 3.7, while someone like Curry has a huge differential at a whopping 14.7 net rating with him on the court versus negative 4.1. When looking at KD, the Nets have a much lower difference with versus without him. Now that's not to say that on and off ratings are a foolproof method of evaluating a player's value. We have to remember that basketball players don't just play by themselves. Those net ratings have numerous factors that can sway it, including who else might be on the court during games. What it does do is paint a small piece of the picture for what a player might mean for their team, and right now, that means that no other player in the NBA means more to their team than Jokic does to the Denver Nuggets. Let's remember, with the injuries that the Nuggets have for 2 of their key players in Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, Denver isn't expected to be anywhere near a playoff team, and yet that's exactly what's still happening. Jokic alone has managed to prop up this Nuggets team and keep this team afloat despite having an injury-riddled roster. And that's not surprising, since Denver has pretty much completely relied on Jokic to carry the offensive load, and he's doing just that. His outing against the Clippers on January 19th showed just how capable he was when he dropped a triple-double with a whopping 49 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists, along with a box score of plus 15. Just look at how he comes up clutch in the final moments of the fourth quarter. He first comes up huge to tie the game with this nasty spin move in the paint against Zubac. He comes up clutch again after perfectly recognizing the over-rotation by Kennard and dishes a wide-open pass for Barton to tie the game for overtime. It's plays like these where it shows just how critical he is to their team, and the opposing teams recognize that. Just check out this final play during the same game, how the Clippers play Jokic. Knowing that Jokic has been on fire all game, they have no choice but to double-team him before he fires a perfectly aimed dime cross-court to Gordon for the game-winning shot. His skill set is just on an entirely different level, and this just paints a small picture of what he can do on the court. For a more holistic view, take a look at his player efficiency rating, or PER for short, this season. The PER stat is aimed to be an all-in-one basketball rating that attempts to boil down all of a player's contributions into one number. It takes into account everything from your points and rebounds to missed shots, and even turnovers in games played. With that said, Nikola Jokic is doing something unprecedented in basketball history by posting a record-high 33.11 player efficiency rating. To give you an idea of what I mean, take a look at how he ranks compared to other legends in NBA history. Nikola Jokic has managed to achieve a feat that not Wilt Chamberlain has ever achieved. LeBron James, Stephen Curry, or even Michael Jordan himself. To take things even further, Jokic is somehow topping his own MVP season in 2020-21 in player efficiency rating. Don't get us wrong, the PER has its own flaws and doesn't tell the whole story, but this does show how Jokic is not only having one of the greatest seasons in his career, but also one of the greatest seasons in all of NBA history. This all goes back to his unworldly skill set as a big man. Let's just start with his offense. This season, Nikola Jokic is averaging a ridiculous 26.2 points, 13.8 rebounds, and 7.7 assists on 57% shooting from the field. He's currently ranked second in rebounds, trailing only Gobert himself. 8th in points a game above players like Curry, Booker, and Doncic, and 8th in assists a game, even beating out star guards like LaMelo and Ja Morant. What makes these stats even more impressive is that he's doing this with fewer minutes than his MVP season with little help. Last season, Jokic averaged 34.6 minutes a game. This season, just 33 minutes a game. The fact that he's averaging near identical numbers to his MVP year while adding 3 more total rebounds, all while playing fewer minutes, shows just how stellar his season has been so far. As the only player to rank top 10 in every category, this type of performance is not just unprecedented for a single season, but for all time. And we can definitely see why if we go beyond the numbers. The Joker's ability to literally read entire plays before it happens shows off his massive basketball IQ. Remember when the Joker did this crazy read? Jokic first clears out the court and makes this perfect call to the exact spot he wants Morris to cut to. He then drives the ball after his screen, forcing help defense to come, allowing for the easy dime to Morris inside. This ability to read the game so well is what makes him so deadly in setting up his team's offense. Combined with his pinpoint passing, Jokic is quite literally one of a kind and even drew praise from the likes of Greg Popovich, who called the Joker a 7-foot Larry Bird. So far this season, Jokic is averaging a career-high 37.8% and assist percentage, and is often thanks to his ability to maintain his composure even when being double-teamed. This is a prime example of just that, where he gets doubled before throwing a perfect cross-court dime to the corner man. Here's another exceptional pass where, despite being smothered in the paint, he makes this wild pass. His gravity in drawing out double teams combined with his exceptional passing ability are both skills that make Jokic absolutely lethal. Lastly, let's not forget about his defensive improvements. Last season, Jokic caught a bunch of criticism for being a liability on defense. So much so that Michael Malone himself called Jokic an easy mark, since he wasn't the shot-blocking athletic guy. Even worse, defensive specialist Draymond Green even went as far as to use Jokic as a prime example of what bad defense was like. Check out what he says.
I think I had 4 clips at halftime, and it was a Nuggets game, and I went at Jokic's defense. 4 clips, him not rotating over as the low man, him not moving, 4 clips.
He literally calls him out on 4 bad defensive plays. On the bright side, Green did mention how much he's improved since, and it's definitely showing. His on and off metrics tell us that opponents have an effective field goal percentage almost 5 points worse than Jokic's on the court. He's also gotten smarter at anticipating opponents' moves, especially since he knows that he's not a prime jumper. Instead, he uses his size to play patiently for defensive opportunities before creating beautiful offensive plays like this. At just 26 years old, it's hard to believe that Jokic is already achieving levels that many NBA players can only dream of. We are literally witnessing history being made before our eyes, and it's time to give Jokic the respect he deserves as an MVP. Sadly, issues like voter fatigue or popularity still exist, but at least here we can appreciate how he is changing the game for NBA big men, marking a new vision on how centers are evolving to play the game. If you guys want to see how modern-day NBA bigs like Jokic are changing the game, check out our video for a pleasant surprise.